I'm what you could call a collector of bootleg Pokémon games. Pokémon Diamond and Jade, Chaos Black, etc. It's amazing the frequency with which you can find them at pawn shops, Goodwill, flea markets, and such. They're generally fun, even if they are unplayable, which they often are. The mistranslations and poor quality make them unintentionally humorous. I've been able to find most of the ones that I've played online, but there's one I haven't seen any mention of. I bought it at a flea market a few years ago. Here's a picture of the cartridge, in case anybody recognizes it. Unfortunately, when I moved 2 years ago, I lost the game when I came home from summer vacation. I think I left it at the hotel. The game started with the familiar Nidorino and Gengar intro of Red and Blue version. However, the press start screen had been altered. Red was there, but the Pokemon did not cycle through. It also said Black version under the Pokemon logo. Upon selecting New Game, the game started the Professor Oak speech, and it quickly became evident that the game was essentially Pokemon Red version. After selecting your starter, if you looked at your Pokemon, you had, in addition to Bulbasaur, Charmander, or Squirtle, another Pokemon, Ghost. The Pokemon was level 1. It had the sprite of the ghosts that are encountered in Lavender Town before obtaining the Silph Scope. It had one attack, Curse. I know that there is a real move named Curse. The attack did not exist in Generation 1, so it appears it was hacked in. Defending Pokemon were unable to attack Ghost. It would only say they were too scared to move. When the move Curse was used in battle, the screen would cut to black. The cry of the defending Pokemon would be heard, but it was distorted, played at a much lower pitch than normal. The battle screen would then reappear, and the defending Pokemon would be gone. If used in a battle against a trainer, when the Pokeballs representing their Pokemon would appear in the corner, they would have one fewer Pokeball. The implication was that the Pokemon died. What's even stranger is that after defeating a trainer and seeing Red receive 200 Pokédollars for winning, the battle commands would appear again. If you selected Run, the battle would end as it normally does. You could also select Curse. If you did, upon returning to the overworld, the trainer's sprite would be gone. After leaving and re-entering the area, the spot where the trainer had been would be replaced with a tombstone, the ones at Pokemon Tower in Lavender Town. The move Curse was not usable in all instances. It would fail against Ghost Pokemon. It would also fail if it was used against trainers that you would have to face again, such as your rival or Giovanni. It was usable in your final battle against them, however. I figured this was the gimmick of the game, allowing you to use the previously uncatchable ghosts. And because Curse made the game so easy, I essentially used it throughout the whole adventure. The game changed quite a bit after defeating the Elite Four. After viewing the Hall of Fame, which consisted of Ghost and a couple of very underleveled Pokemon, the screen cut to black. A box appeared with the words, "Many years later." It then cut to the Pokemon Tower. An old man was standing, looking at tombstones. You then realized this was your character. The man moved at only half of your normal walking speed. You no longer had any Pokemon with you, not even Ghost, who up to this point had been impossible to remove from your party through depositing in the PC. The overworld was essentially empty. There were no people at all. There were still the tombstones of the trainers that used curse on, however. Only by walking around did I realize how many tombstones there were, how many trainers I'd cursed. You could go pretty much anywhere in the overworld at this point, though your movement was limited by the fact that you had no Pokemon to use HMs. And regardless of where you went, the music of Lavender Town continued on an infinite loop. After wandering for a while, I found that if you go through Diglett's cave, one of the cuttable bushes that normally blocks the path on the other side is no longer there, allowing you to advance and return to Pallet Town. Upon entering your house and going to the exact tile where you start the game, the screen would cut to black. Then, the sprite of a Caterpie appeared. It was then replaced by a Ponyta, and then a Pidgey. I soon realized, as the Pokemon progressed from Rattata to Blastoise, that these were all the Pokemon I had used Curse on. At the end of my rival's team, a youngster appeared, then a gambler, and then my rival. These, and many more in between, were the trainers I had cursed. Throughout the sequence, the Lavender Town music was playing, but it was slowly decreasing in pitch. By the time your rival appeared on screen, it was a little more than a demonic rumble. Another cut to black. A few moments later, the battle screen suddenly appeared. Your trainer sprite was now that of an old man, the same one that teaches you how to catch a Pokemon in Viridian City. A ghost appeared on the other side, along with the words, "Ghost wants to fight." You couldn't use items. You had no Pokemon. If you tried to run, you couldn't escape. The only option was fight. Using fight would immediately cause you to use struggle, which didn't affect the ghost, but did chip off a bit of your own HP. When it was Ghost's turn to attack, it would simply say ... Eventually, when your HP reached a critical point, Ghost would finally use Curse. The screen cut to black the final time. Regardless of the buttons you pressed, you were permanently stuck in this black screen. At this point, the only thing you could do was turn the Game Boy off. When you played again, New Game was the only option. The game had erased the file. I played through this hack game many times, and every time the game ended with this sequence. Several times I didn't use Ghost at all, though he was impossible to remove from the party. In these cases, I did not show any Pokemon or trainers, and simply cut to the climactic battle with Ghost. I'm not sure what the motives were behind the creator of this hack. It wasn't widely distributed, so it was presumably not for monetary gain. It was very well done for a bootleg. It seems he was trying to convey a message, though it seems like I'm the sole receiver of this message. I'm not entirely sure what it was. The inevitability of death? The pointlessness of it? Perhaps he was just trying to morbidly inject death and darkness into a children's game. There's something overly protective about the Pokemon world. The Pokemon are weapons, but they're your friends. They fight to the dying breath, but never die. They're always waiting at the Pokemon Center, healed and ready for another adventure. It's a bit like Nintendogs. The puppies never grow up, remaining small, playful, innocent. You care for them, play with them, but they never have to deal with the one thing that we all have to deal with: growing old. The curse of our mortality. Maybe this hack was a joke to scare children, but do kids really ever ask, can Pokemon die? They might after this. Maybe that was the point. To make the player think, what happens when Pokemon die? And perhaps that's the most terrifying thing of all, because that means the ghost curse is true. And if we are cursed, what happens when we die? Remember when I said that I lost the cartridge of this hack when I came home from summer vacation? That wasn't completely true. Now, I didn't lie about not having the cartridge anymore, but I didn't lose it. I got rid of it intentionally. I went back to the flea market and sold it to the first stranger who came near. He thought he walked away with a bargain, but I didn't tell him. The day before, I played the hack again, for the last time. I played as I usually did, and finished the game. The screen went black and the game froze, as it did before. I was about to turn my Game Boy off when the phone rang. I left the room and talked on the phone for about 15 minutes. After hanging up, I heard something from my room. I came in and saw something on the Game Boy screen. I was excited. Maybe there was more of this hack than I realized. I picked up the Game Boy, and there were 2 red lights on the screen. Suddenly, a message appeared under the lights. There were only 4 words. It read,
Ghost curses you, Austin.